Are you afraid to be yourself? That's not weakness. That's the memory of the day you were punished for being honest, judged, mocked, rejected. And ever since, you said what others wanted to hear. From that moment on, the real you stopped existing. Nobody chooses the mask. It's put on you in childhood. Don't argue. Don't stand out. Don't make mistakes. Be convenient, and you're praised. Be inconvenient, and you're punished. And the brain learns one lesson. Silence is safer than honesty. That lesson stays with you for years. You don't even notice it anymore. Now let me say something you feel every day but can't put into words. Adults aren't afraid of public speaking. They're afraid of judgment. Afraid of hearing they're not smart enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough. That's why they don't start a business. Don't leave a job they hate. Don't approach the person they like. They lose before they even try, simply because they're terrified of what others might think. But there's an even bigger fear: standing out. When you're like everyone else, there's no one to blame but circumstances. But the moment you show your true opinion, your ambitions, you become visible, and visibility invites criticism. Most people choose mediocrity, not because they can't do more, but because it feels safer. But here's what will change your perspective. Safety has a cost. Every time you betray yourself for approval, you grow weaker. Not physically, but inside. You start doubting your own decisions. You become dependent on others' reactions. Until one day, other people's opinions become the most important voice in your life. I know this, not from books. Since childhood, I've had Tourette syndrome, tics, sleepless nights. At school, I was bullied so badly I had to switch to homeschooling. For a long time, I hid from it. I saw it as weakness. But then came a moment when I realized, either you live with it or you break. I chose to live. I started going outside, into a yard where no one had ever talked to me. I started training, not overnight, but day by day, overcoming fear little by little, until I became who I always wanted to be. And then something unexpected happened. The same people who bullied me began reaching out to me. And right there, I understood something that changed everything. This is what you need to hold on to. The fear of being yourself never just disappears on its own. You can't wait it out. You can only walk through it. When someone stops hiding, energy is freed up. Before, it was all spent on keeping up appearances. What to say, how to look, who to smile at, when to stay silent. Constant pressure. Without the mask, that energy returns to you. Now let's talk about what to do with this, because this is where money, power, and negotiation come in. I still remember the first time I went to meet a man with real business experience and reputation, while I had almost none. All the way there, I kept asking myself, what will I say? How will I answer if he asks about my experience? What will he think of me? My feet wanted to turn back. And right at that moment, I almost gave up. But I did something different. I told myself, it doesn't matter what he thinks. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. I'm going for my own goal, not for someone else's approval. I kept walking, and I didn't look back. I walked out of that meeting with experience that ended up serving me for a long time. But listen, this doesn't just apply to my story. It's the same in relationships. When you play a role, people love a character, not you. And that character can't be sustained forever. Sooner or later, the mask falls. And then it turns out the other person was with someone else all along. The sooner you stop hiding, the sooner real closeness can appear. Not perfect, no guarantees, but real. I won't pretend I have perfect relationships or that I have it all figured out. But this I know for sure. People can always sense dishonesty, and sincerity always draws them in. It works the same way in business. I remember training with a coach, harsh, even cruel. I was terrified to tell him I didn't want to train with him anymore. I thought he'd get angry, that we'd end up in a fight. But I pulled myself together and said exactly what I felt. I don't want to train with you anymore. No excuses, no sugarcoating. He was surprised, and afterward, he started treating me with more respect. That experience taught me something simple. If I can't tell the truth to someone standing right in front of me, I won't be able to do it in bigger situations either. In negotiations, in money, in life. Honesty is a skill, and I started training it right there and then. Not in business, but in life. And later, I simply applied that skill wherever it was needed. Here's something strange. People start respecting you exactly when you stop seeking their approval. Confidence can't be faked. It only appears when you no longer need to be someone else. When you're afraid to be yourself, you're afraid of people with money, power, status. They seem above you. Their opinion seems to decide your worth. But the moment you accept yourself, that feeling fades. Negotiations stop being scary. Conversations with powerful people stop weighing you down. Judgment no longer feels like a catastrophe. Freedom doesn't begin where everyone supports you. It begins where you stop asking for permission to be yourself. Now here's the most important thing I've learned over all these years. If you wait for the moment when you're no longer afraid, it will never come. Courage comes after action, not before it. You said what you thought, and the world didn't end. You took one step, and it became easier to take the next. That's how a person is born who no longer lives for the approval of others. Ready to stop being afraid of who you are? Then subscribe. Here I talk about psychology, inner strength, and the decisions that actually change lives. Not for the sake of beautiful words, but for the sake of real results.